Hello, I'm Roger Wolford. Last spring I started a carving project for 6 ostrich eggs. And as I started carving these eggs, I was posting in-process pictures and final pictures on my Facebook page and Instagram pages. And I immediately started getting a lot of likes and comments and also a lot of questions. So I was getting questions like, what tools do you use? What burrs do you use? Just exactly how do you do this? So I thought for my very last egg, egg number 6 of my project here, figured after going through 5 egg carvings on the very last one, I should be good enough and understand this well enough to go ahead and shoot you guys a video. So here it is. This is the video, kind of giving you the details of how I do this and what I use to do it. So yeah, here it is. Let's get started. Let's start by taking a look at the tool I use for this carving. This is a dental drill. It produces that high-pitched shrill so many people fear from the dental office. Personally, I love that sound. It's a sound of creativity and inspiration for me. The drill runs on compressed air and rotates about 360,000 revolutions per minute. These high speeds allow me to cut and carve the thick and tough ostrich eggshells with ease. This particular dental drill is a Shofu Lab Air Z. I like this drill because it is light, comfortable, and fairly quiet. If you are new to the world of dental drill art and would like to know more about the drills, how they run, and what you can do with them, please consider buying my book, Dental Drill Art. This is a guide for the beginner wanting to dive into this exciting and creative hobby. Available now on Amazon.com. Let's compare the ostrich egg to the other eggs. Notice how much larger and more round the ostrich egg is compared to the others. They are also much thicker. This makes the ostrich egg a great choice for the egg artist, giving us more area to design on and a thicker shell for carving layers. I will only use 2 burrs to carve this egg. First one is the number 699 carbide taper burr, and the second is the diamond football. Both burrs are 1/16 inch shank friction grip burrs specially designed to handle the high speeds of the dental drill. The number 699 carbide has a thin long set of carbide blades running parallel to the shank. I use this burr in 2 different methods. I will hold it perpendicular to the work surface using it kind of like a router cutting through the eggshell. The other way I will use it is by holding it around a 45-degree angle to score the egg surface. The diamond football is pretty much as it sounds. It is a football-shaped head covered in a diamond grit. The diamond grit works great for cutting, shaping, and sanding the eggshell. Most diamond burrs have a colored band on the shank. This identifies the grit level of the diamond. I will be using a coarse grit diamond for this carving. I will use this burr in 3 ways. First, by holding the burr perpendicular to the work surface, I will plunge the tip of the burr, creating a V-style cut. Second, by holding the burr at a 45-degree angle, I plunge the tip into the eggshell, carving an undercut. Third, I will lay the burr down flat on the work surface to make broad, brush-like strokes to smooth and blend the eggshell surface. Here is our ostrich egg. I have drawn the design onto the eggshell using a lead pencil. Once I got the design as I liked it, I sprayed the pencil with hairspray. The hairspray provides a thin, clear coating that protects the drawing from smudging and wiping away as I handle the egg. I referenced some barn owl photos to develop this design. I drew 3 owl scenes on the egg, then freehand the trees and limbs around the owls. The areas marked with an X is the negative space of my design. These areas will be cut out of the eggshell. The owls and trees will then be relief carved. I'm using the number 699 carbide at a 45-degree angle to cut around the negative space I have marked with an X. I will continuously cut this path over and over until completely cutting through the eggshell. Notice that the majority of these cuts are pulled down towards my body. This gives me better control of the drill. Also notice that I cut to the line but not through the line of my pattern. This is important to staying true to the design and keeping the egg structurally strong. I will cut away all the negative space around the drawing of the flying owl. I'm sure you've already noticed that eggshell carving creates a lot of dust. This fine dust can be damaging to your lungs. Notice that I'm wearing a respirator here, plus the hose there in front of the egg. That goes to my dust collector and sucks a lot of the dust away from my face. Please stay safe. I have cut away all the negative space around my owl. Switching to the diamond football burr, I will separate the owl from the tree limbs. This will bring the owl forward in our carving. When relief carving, I think in layers. In this project, the owl is the highest layer and the trees are the lowest. Using the diamond football, I will push the limbs around the owl lower by carving them down and tapering them away. Let me attempt to explain what I'm doing here. I'm first holding the diamond football at about a 45-degree angle and separating the tree limb from the owl's body. Carving roughly about 1 millimeter deep, leaving a slight undercut. The undercut casts a shadow to the layer, giving it an illusion of weight. Next, I lower the angle on the burr and begin to taper the cut by feathering it out. Last, I bring the diamond football down to blend the cut. Using sweeping broad strokes, I smooth the cut and blend it with the extended limb. Now that we have pushed the owl to the front of our carving, I will focus on the layers of the owl itself. There are many layers within the owl, the torso and head being the top layers, and the wing and tail being underneath. Continuing with the diamond football, I will carve down these lower layers. I really enjoy carving feathers. The stacked layers of the wings and the tail bring a dramatic look to my projects. Notice how I carve the feathers all in the same angle, giving them a fanned out look. This is where having good reference material is so important. I study many photos of my subjects to understand the layers, learning which layers are on top and which layers are on bottom, what feather lays on top and what feather lays underneath, which directions the flow of the feathers go, and so on. Take your time to learn your subject well, and your carvings will show it. I will now roll the egg to another area and repeat what I have already done. As before, I will begin with the number 699 carbide burr and cut away the negative space around this owl perched on a branch. Same as before, I will make multiple passes pulling the cuts down towards my body until I cut all the way through the shell. Here's a good look at how thick this shell is. This is roughly 2 millimeters thick. That is why I make multiple passes to get all the way through. If I was to try and take this in one pass, it would break my bird. Trust me, I tried. Switching back to the diamond football, I'll bring the owl forward by carving down the surrounding tree limbs using the same process I described earlier. I'm sure most of you have noticed that the eggshell has this odd paper-like film hanging from the inside. This is the inner membrane of the eggshell. Don't worry, I have a simple way to get rid of this later. Notice that I wear a respirator. While working with eggs, this is my equipment of choice. I do not find a simple dust mask good enough to battle this fine dust. Notice how the dust collector is pulling the dust into the hose. If you are going to power carve on eggshells, you need to protect from the dust. All of my eggs have had the yolks removed and been sterilized with a diluted bleach solution. But this egg dust can still be bad news if you get it in your lungs. It can make you sick. But if you protect yourself well, you should be fine. Don't mess around, stay safe. Let's take a look at how I carved the owl's face and head. Continuing with the diamond football burr, I will make multiple light passes separating these layers. The barn owl is one of the few animal subjects that carves well from straight on. Their semi-flat face works well for a shallow relief carving on the eggshell. Okay, I'm moving on to the last owl carving on this egg. Laying beside the egg is a can of hairspray. This is just a reminder to seal the pencil sketch to keep it from smudging, just as we talked about earlier. We're going to fly through this last one. The process is the same as the two previous. As we carve along on the final owl carving, I'll answer a few common egg questions. The most frequent one is, don't you break them? Well, yes, occasionally I do, but it's pretty rare. Especially working with the thicker ostrich eggs. If you plan your design good and you handle them gently, you will be rewarded with a good egg carving. Another common question is, where do you get your eggs? I generally buy them from farmers over the internet. They range from $15 to $40 a piece. These are sterile eggs that come pre-cleaned. The yolks have been removed from a small hole drilled in the bottom, and then they're sanitized with a bleach water solution. People also ask, where do you find the display stands? These are the metal, sometimes wooden stands that the egg sits on when they're completed. Most of the time I buy them from the internet, on Etsy or sometimes Amazon. If you search for egg display or sphere stand, you should be able to find them. Certain shapes of candle holders and napkin rings will also work for an egg display stand, so there's that. Here's a little tip. When you display the egg on the stand, if you use a small piece of mounting putty, it's like a white gummy stuff you can buy. I think 3M makes it, and Scotch I think makes a brand of it too. then it'll keep your egg from slipping and sliding around on the stand. So if you just put a little bit of that on the back of the stand, set your eggs on it, and it kind of locks it in place and it keeps it from sliding and possibly tipping out of the stand and breaking. So yeah, try that. One thing I like to point out here is when I'm carving the upper portion of the wing, notice how I move the burr back and forth. My strokes go with the flow of the feathers. What that's doing is the marks left by the burr, the little tiny scratches left by the diamond grit, it mimics the feathers, so it gives you the same pattern as the feathers. Now that I have all the owls carved, I am going to finish shaping and blending the tree trunks and limbs, sticking with the diamond football. I will determine which limbs on top of which limb, what goes underneath, and so on and so forth, kind of as I go. No real set rules for this, just call it how you see it, whatever looks best to the eye, and what do you think is going to work best for your pattern. I'd also like to point out here that as I carve the tree trunks and the limbs, that my strokes also go with the grain of the bark. Again, the diamond grit scratches left behind will match the flow of the bark. I have completed carving all the layers of the trees. I will continue to use the diamond football to carve the bark on the limbs and the trunks of the trees. Notice the areas where we've cut away the negative space. There's kind of some fuzzies and just kind of some jagged edges hanging off of there. Don't worry about that. We will get rid of that later with a very simple method. To add a little more character to the trees, I like to randomly add some knots and scars to the trunks and limbs. I have completed the carving. All the negative space has been cut away, the 3 owls and the trees have been relief carved. Next I will soak the entire egg in bleach for 24 hours. The bleach will dissolve the inner membrane and smooth the edges of the cuts. Just like I talked earlier, the bleach will eat all this away, leaving a smooth, nice looking carving. I'm using a piece of wire to lower the egg into a small bucket of bleach and let it sit for 24 hours. This is straight bleach right out of the bottle. Using the same wire, I'll remove the egg from the bleach after the 24-hour soak. Then I rinse the egg under warm water. If you have any pencil marks left on the egg, they can be removed by gently scrubbing with soft scrub and a toothbrush. To speed up the process, I use a hairdryer to dry the egg. Notice that the inner membrane is now gone and the entire egg is a bright white, and the cut edges are nice and smooth. Last step is to seal the carving with a clear coating. This will prevent the egg from yellowing over time and add a bit of gloss to the finish. Again, using a piece of wire, I spray the egg as directed and hang it in a safe place to dry. Okay, so here it is. We finished the carving. 3 owls on this ostrich egg. I hope you enjoyed following along with me on the project. I also hope you learned a few things along the way. If you want to check out more of what I do, you can head on over to my website. If you want to follow along with some of my other projects, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Wolford Carving out there on the interweb. You should be able to find me. Yeah, so until next time, stay safe and keep making dust.